Have you thought about creating your own teaching portfolio? If you have, great. It's such a great idea to have your own complete and very unique teaching portfolio. I don't mean a cookie cutter templated type of portfolio. I mean something that really showcases what you do in the classroom or what you want to do in the classroom. Today, I'm going to show you my teaching portfolio. It's the same portfolio I used when I was looking for my first job, and then again as I was changing positions into a music teacher and then back to the elementary ed classroom. As we go through my portfolio, I hope that you get some really great ideas of how to create yours and to make it unique so it really shows what your personality is and who you are as a teacher. My name's Elizabeth Peterson and I've been teaching for 23 years. I don't have a current portfolio that I use for interviews anymore, but I do keep using and adding to my portfolio because it's just a great way to show who I am as a teacher. So I can't wait to share that with you. The first thing I want you to understand about creating a unique portfolio is that I don't use any templates inside. Instead, I really just use artifacts. Right from the very beginning, if you look at the cover of my portfolio, you'll notice that it's not even created by me or on a computer. Instead, I had some students create all the different parts inside of my portfolio. I think that's really important because it shows the person that you're showing your portfolio to that you are student-centered in your classroom. And I'll show you examples of that as we go through. But first, some of the essentials that you should have in your portfolio. Things like references, a resume, your philosophy of teaching. Those things are really important. And they can also be very wordy. Those types of things don't take up too much space in my portfolio. And there's a reason. Usually that information is already in the hands of the person who's interviewing you, right? If you're using a portfolio for an interview for a new job. But I do keep them inside my portfolio. Let me show you where. Inside this really handy accordion file that hooks into my binder really nice and easy. And inside, you'll see that I have transcripts, I might have resumes, I have letters of recommendation from different people. And inside this accordion folder, I have extra copies. Extra copies are so important just in case someone wants an extra copy or they don't have maybe your resume in front of them if they didn't make copies already for an interview. So having those kinds of things ready is really a great thing. And that shows that you are on top of your game and you are ready to just showcase everything that you've got. Another place I might have extra copies are inside these kind of pocket folders. They're thin and they fit right into your binder and you can have multiple copies of the same thing. In my first section, I also have copies of my most important or recent recommendations, my transcripts, my certificate of teaching, my resume, and all those things. Those go in my introduction so that I do have those pieces of information handy and ready. But look, that only takes up this much space. Now let me show you what else I have in here. Now, if there's something that makes you unique, this is really important that you put it inside your portfolio. You got to think, what's going to set you apart from the rest of the crowd, right? And for me, it has always been my arts integration background and the things that I do with my students in terms of music and all the arts. And so I have a whole entire section that showcases that. So here I have a section where I put some articles that I have written and have published, showing that my book is on sale inside of a catalog, showing that I teach workshops on the topic of music in the classroom, and then also some student examples of what I actually do in the classroom that's specific to music integration. And even a note from a parent who was really impressed with the work that we were doing in the classroom and how much it helped her son. A couple more things. And notes again from parents. Notes from parents are really important to have inside your portfolio. And administrators love seeing that you've made a great impact on students from a parent's point of view, right? So definitely solicit those from the parents that you're working with. And you can do this in a really easy way. And all you have to do is ask for it. Send home an email or a note with all of your students, even the ones that you might be just student teaching, and say, we've been doing some of these great things in the classroom. I know that the kids have really enjoyed it, but I'd love to hear from you. What are some of your thoughts? What have you been hearing from your kids? Tell them that you'd love to hear from them, and you'd be surprised at how many parents will actually take the time to just write you back. And then you can include it in your portfolio, and that will really help set you apart. All right, let's take a look now at some of the other things inside the portfolio. This is where we take a look at real good artifacts from the classroom. In other words, student work. When I designed this portfolio, I actually solicited the assistance of my students. And let me tell you, there were some students that were really excited to do this for me. And you'll see here, I have some dividers here that students created. So I just cut out these cardstock to make my own dividers that you can see here. And then I invited my students to decorate them. And then of course they also put their name on it so that I would always remember who it is that created those for me. So now let's take a good look inside, shall we? So I did start by showing what my actual lesson plans looked like as I was working through week to week to week. I think that's a great thing to show. Real life, what do my lesson plans look like? How do I plan out my day? How do I plan out my week? But then we get into the pictures and the artifacts that really show what goes on inside my classroom. So let's take a look. Here's some hands-on math, pictures of that, some fun projects that we did with graphing and the such. And it just shows some of the creative things that I did with my students, making recipes in math, how I create quizzes and grade papers, events that I might be part of, a wanted poster for math. For the science section, I actually showed an entire lesson plan from beginning to end. I don't want to inundate my portfolio with lesson plan after lesson plan because there's no interviewer who's going to read through paragraphs or lesson plans if you're passing this portfolio around. They're just going to be flipping through, right? But with one or two lesson plans, I think it's really good for them to show that you are organized and that you do know what you're talking about. But then you want to back up those lesson plans with pictures and artifacts. So for this lesson about a class amoeba, I then have pictures of our class amoeba. And don't be afraid to just photocopy student work. And if you can, color copy them so that if they have something in color, you can show it in color. Now, this was a really fun activity that I did in science, making wallets. And if you want to know about how to do this, let me know in the comments. I think that would make a really fun YouTube video. And be sure to subscribe while you're at it, because I've got a lot of things that I want to share with you. And some of the ideas actually came as I was perusing through this portfolio. So here's an example of a few students who I invited to share their projects so that I could put it in my portfolio, and they were so happy to do so. Some poetry in science, labs, creative inventions, and bulletin boards. Let me grab this out for you. So if you have made some bulletin boards that you're really proud of, take some pictures of them and put them inside your portfolio too. This is another really important thing that I think administrators will want to see. They'll want to know what kind of things you do, not just inside your classroom, but how do you show off things that you do inside your classroom on a bulletin board? How do you make your bulletin board interactive? And if you're interested in learning more about some interactive bulletin boards, I have a blog post about that, so check the description. I'll put the link down there and you can check that blog post out. Now, there are so many things inside this portfolio. It is actually a little overwhelming. And so what I would suggest to you is to create a really good, substantial portfolio of all the different things that you have done inside your classroom. We talked about having photos of students and examples of student work. Here I have an example of a reflection sheet that I would give my second graders after they did their language centers, and then they would write a sentence or two about what they learned or what they did. All these types of things are important pieces of what makes you, you as a teacher. But what you really want to think about is, what are you going to focus on when you're at your interview or when you're showing off your portfolio? So you've got to get a sense of, what is that school or what is that administrative team all about? Are they about science curriculum? Then go ahead and put some post-it notes inside your portfolio that tags those science lessons that you really want to show them. Do they have a lot of behavioral issues and that's something that you can help with? Then definitely make sure that you take the time, learn about that school, learn about the people that are interviewing you, and then go ahead through your big portfolio and tag some of those things that you want to make sure you're able to show them. You don't want to be fumbling through your portfolio when you're sitting there and trying to find something. That's going to waste time, and that's going to get a little frustrating and annoying, to be honest. So instead, take the time to figure out what kind of things you really want to show off and then show them off. Another thing that might be a good idea to put into your portfolio are maybe some of the checklists or ways that you organize information in terms of where students are as they're going through the school year, just so that they can understand how it is that you organize your data and information. So having a few of those data input sheets inside your portfolio might be a great way to show that you know what you're talking about. Another great thing to have inside your portfolio is a corrected paper to show how you go about correcting and giving back feedback to your students. That's something that is really going to set you apart. If you can actually have an honest artifact from a student with your comments and suggestions and edits on it, that's the type of thing that's going to really set you apart. Now, aside from just your lesson plans, you also want to address a few other points that are going to come up inside of an interview. For one, character education, or that's at least what I was calling it way back when I had this portfolio and I was using it to get my current position. Now, SEL, right? Now we're talking about social emotional learning. So definitely have a section in your portfolio that addresses behavior, character education, classroom management, and for sure, aspects of social emotional learning. And if you're interested in learning more about what social emotional learning is, make sure you check out this video, because this is going to help you to talk really clearly about what social emotional learning is and how it plays a part in your classroom. From day one, I have been working with different aspects of character education and social emotional learning, respect and responsibility, and there's so many great activity ideas inside this part of the portfolio. I'm definitely going to be making a lot of videos about some of these ideas. So make sure you hit subscribe, because I can't wait to share some of these great activities and ideas with you for some good social emotional learning. Another thing you probably are going to want to address right here inside your portfolio, something that you will probably want to talk about when you're talking to the administration team that's interviewing you, is behavior and how you deal with unique behaviors and classroom management in general. For example, inside my portfolio, I showed off a chart that I used with one particular student who was really having some big behavior issues. And for this student, we created a 3x3 chart. We called it his smile chart. And after he earned his 9 smiles, he got some time on a scooter. And what this does is it shows that I'm a team player, right? I want to do what's best for kids. And I know that certain students have unique needs, and I'm going to be the best teacher I can for each and every student. So having that right here as an artifact, that is something that can really make an impression on the people you're showing this to. And speaking of classroom management, I have a whole entire section on classroom management strategies that I use inside of my classroom. And the thing with classroom management is it changes, right? It changes from year to year, it changes from school to school, and even from classroom to classroom. And so showing that you have a lot of classroom management strategies under your belt is a great thing to do. If you want to hear some of my classroom management strategies, things that I've used over the years, I would love to make a video just about classroom management, so make sure you let me know in the comments if that's something that you're interested in. And you probably know what I'm gonna say, right? Make sure you hit subscribe because those types of videos are coming up soon. And finally, something you definitely want to have inside your portfolio is how you communicate with families and parents. This is so important to the administration team at every single school. So I have a section for this too, including newsletters that I sent out and extra copies just in case someone wants an example, a sheet that shows how I organize my thoughts before I get on a call with a parent, and I'll also have some examples of cards and things that students and parents might send to me in response to, just helping their kid out or doing something good in the classroom. These are so important to have in here too because it shows that, your students care about you, your students' parents are impressed with what you're doing in the classroom. So get those things and put them inside your portfolio. And while we're on the topic of some of these fun things and notes that students and parents and even colleagues might give you throughout the year, I have a totally separate portfolio that I keep with all these special things. I'll be making a video about that type of portfolio soon. So make sure you subscribe and hit that bell to be notified so you don't miss it. So there you go. There's a great example of a portfolio that is creative, unique, and shows all the great things that I do inside my classroom for my students. That's the kind of impression that you want to make. You want to make an impression that you are a unique, creative, and caring teacher who wants to do great things in the classroom for your students. And what better way to do that than with a portfolio that houses all those amazing things that you're doing with your students. I'm really excited that you're here with me now, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. So go ahead and check out what I've got next for you, and I'll see you over there.